Hey, I'm Ryan Curran, and this is my assignment number 2, guided imagery for Kinesiology 454. And today I'm going to be doing a guided imagery for an athlete going through a free throw in basketball. Basketball is my sport of choice. I've played it for quite some time, and I definitely know the pressures you can feel when stepping up to the free throw line, when there's people watching, when it comes down to the end of the game, and the free throws could make or break whether your team wins or loses, or even earlier on in the game when it might seem less crucial, but in the back of your head, you know these free throws could potentially uh, win a game for a team or could potentially lose the game for the team. I struggled for shooting free throws for a while because it's something about shooting free throws. It's so simple that it makes it difficult, and it's all a mind game that you play with yourself. So I think guided imagery would be is a very effective method for free throw shooting in basketball specifically. So I'm going to go through what I would demonstrate to an athlete if they were going through issues with free throw shooting, and I'm going to do the best that I can, not being a sports psychologist, but what I would imagine or what I'd want a sports psychologist to say to me when I was struggling with my free throw shooting. Um, so I guess the point of the guided imagery is to kind of set yourself up in an actual game-like situation and start to imagine what it's actually like when you're in game shooting a free throw. Because a lot of times when you go and you practice free throw shooting in the gym by yourself, you don't have any pressure on you. There's nobody watching. You might be in the gym by yourself. You have the availability to put up 100 shots when in a game you have the two, or if you get fouled on a three-pointer, 3 shots to take. And so having that lack of pressure when you're practicing free throw shooting is good because you can focus on movements and the actual mechanisms and the mechanical part of shooting, but it's not necessarily good for the psychological side of shooting a free throw. So this is when guided imagery would come into play. So I would tell the athlete to close their eyes, hold the ball in their hands, um, and make sure you're on a hardwood floor or distant from a free throw, a distance from the basket that would be realistic. So when you do open your eyes again and you start to practice, you're in the right spot. So a lot of times you would take a step into that position. So I would say close your eyes, imagine taking a step or two into the position. Imagine looking down at your feet and getting your toes right to the edge of the line, which a lot of people do. Imagine getting yourself into that position before any of the rest of the process starts. And you look up and forward and you see the basket in front of you. There is 3 people lined up on the right of you, and there's 2 to 3 people lined up on the other side, depending. And you have some of your teammates looking at you. The one ref is under the hoop with a whistle in his mouth, his or her mouth, and ready to pass you the ball. So I would say to imagine the whistle being blown and the sound of the ball when the referee gives you a bounce pass under the basket, what that sound sounds like hitting the hardwood floor against a basketball right before you catch it, and then that feeling of catching the basketball in your hands and spinning the ball around or doing whatever natural movements you like to do to start to get comfortable with the ball before you shoot the free throw, because generally you don't want to grab the ball and just shoot it a free throw right away. And then I would say to imagine looking to the right and seeing a stand of people who are cheering, and maybe looking to the left and seeing another stand of people from that are fans of the opposing team or the opposing school, and they might be heckling you or might be holding signs or booing or whatever might be going on. And if you're playing at a very high level, like a NCAA Division One or a professional league, there might be fans that are in front of you. So I would say imagine looking around at the fans, taking in what's going on, and trying your best to not be affected by it. It's important to realize that there are people watching, but to realize that that's not detrimental to you making the shot. The only thing that's detrimental to you making the shot is whether or not you're believing that you can do it. If you put in the practice, then it all comes down to your own psychological state. I would say taking the smells. There's definitely a specific smell to being in a gymnasium, which I personally find comfort in. It's kind of that hardwood smell mixed with whatever the stands are made of, the plastic, the smell of the basketball, maybe the smell of the person next to you who didn't put deodorant on and their BO is leaking over to your free throw shooting and distracting you. I would say taking all the sights and the smells, all the stuff that you play with and you're familiar with, and that is a comforting part of the game. And then look down at the ball, go through the process that you've worked on for a long time and been taught. Dribble a couple, imagine dribbling a couple balls off the ground. The sound of the ball hitting against the hardwood floor, which is very similar to the sound it made when you got that bounce pass from the referee. Spin the ball in your hands a couple times, go through your routine, and then imagine keeping your head up, looking at the rim, looking at the basket, and imagine what it feels like to have the ball down towards your waist and just feel loose. And don't feel tight, don't tense yourself up, don't think too much about how close you are to the basket, how much the point matters if it goes in or not. Focus more on just letting go and holding the ball loosely, like you're in your driveway at home, like you have nobody else watching, like you're just putting up shots for the fun of it. And then once you feel loose and calm, bring that ball from your waist position or wherever you're starting your free throw, and imagine the feeling of bringing your arms, or actually demonstrate the feeling of bringing your arms up and that slight breeze you would feel against your arms as they move, and to the point where your basketball is most likely above your head. And this entire time, you'd be keeping your eyes on the basket. Imagine what that feels like to be moving the ball in a fluid but not tense motion. And then bring the ball above your head, straight up. Go through your shooting motion and really focus on imagining what that flick of the wrist feels like. Because shooting free throws, you know right away when that wrist flicks and you let go of the ball, you know for the most part if you shot correctly or if you shot well if it's going in, because you've done it thousands and thousands of times, which should reassure the fact that you have the ability to do it. Just letting yourself go, letting yourself relax, and letting yourself not be tense is the most important thing in that process. You know how to shoot a free throw. You know how to shoot a free throw most likely since you were a kid. And, you know, if you're struggling with it, like I have quite a lot, once you realize that you're your own worst enemy, and even if you miss the free throw, it's not a big deal, you'll start to let go. So imagine the release of that ball above your head, the flick of the wrist, the feeling of the flick of the wrist, and imagine it being a good release. Don't imagine any negative releases. Don't imagine you messing up. That doesn't matter. Or if you do imagine it, and then let it go. Imagine the ball going through the air. There'll be people around you. Everybody's eyes aren't on you anymore. They're on the ball now. And then imagine the sound of the net when the ball goes through, and that beautiful swishing sound that we all love so much. And the ball drops through, hits against the ground again, makes contact, makes that same dribbling noise. And ref picks the ball back up, unless it's an and one situation, and he or she bounce passes it back to you. And go through that same image again. Keep the ball down low at your waist. Don't tense up. Keep your shoulders loose. Take in the environment. Know that the audience is there, but know that that's not going to affect what you're doing. Bring the ball back up. Have a smooth release. And this time imagine an even better release when you're shooting the basketball, and an even more perfect swish. And then you won the game. Or it could be early on in the game, and it's the first couple points you scored. Either way, kind of let the pressure seep out, realize you're familiar with the situation, and that's how I would give guided imagery most likely to an athlete looking to shoot a free throw. So anyways, thank you. My name is Ryan Kern once again, and Kinesiology 454 is assignment number 2. Looking forward to the next one.